You got guys out there grinding for 9 innings, and then you can come in and and you can change the game within a couple minutes, right? So you have to be able to be mentally tough to be able to handle that. You have to be able to support each other throughout those times.
Welcome to episode 163 of Alberta Dugout Stories, the podcast. I'm Joe McFarland. It's been a meteoric rise up the coaching ranks for Calgary's Jim Henderson, a 26th round draft pick of the Montreal Expos back in 2003. The hard-throwing right-hander spent 15 years in professional baseball. In 2012, he became the first Dogs Academy product to make it into the major leagues and would go on to pitch in 155 games for the Milwaukee Brewers and New York Mets. The 6'5", 220-pound hurler finished out his playing career in 2018 with the Double-A Biloxi Shuckers, where an injury allowed him to cut his teeth as a scout and then as a coach in the Pioneer League. He rose through the Brewers system just as he did as a player, and just a few weeks ago was named the bullpen coach for the MLB squad. We had the opportunity to catch up with him recently to talk about his entire baseball journey, his roots back home, and what his family has meant to him. Jim, really appreciate the time. Thanks so much for joining us here on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Joe.
First off, congratulations on the promotion to bullpen coach with the Milwaukee Brewers. Now that you've had some time to let that all sink in, what does it mean to you to get that position?
It's a position I kind of felt would be kind of like my in when I started coaching to the big leagues. I thought I'd be good at it, honestly. So it was a little bit of confidence going into the job interviews and stuff with it. But as a reliever, spending so much time in the bullpen, understanding what that unit kind of feels like and looks like out there as a group, I felt comfortable in that space, and I'm really looking forward to working with those guys out there.
What is it that you're most looking forward to as you take on this new role?
It's a leadership role in a sense. We had Trevor Hoffman right before I got to the big leagues as a player who really kind of brought the group together out there. I didn't get to play with him. I got to be around him in spring training as a minor leaguer. And then he kind of passed that torch on to Axford. And I may have had a little flicker of a flame for a second there, and K-Rod, and just that feeling of your unit, your group, you're together, you have to battle this out together. Games are won and lost, a lot of times in the late innings with the relievers. And it's a beast, of a role, because you got guys out there grinding for 9 innings, and then you can come in and you can change the game within a couple minutes, right? So you have to be able to be mentally tough to be able to handle that, and you have to be able to support each other throughout those times.
You mentioned your own experience. What kind of coach do you want to be to those players? Because I know the coaching realm has really changed over the last couple of decades here.
Yeah. Like I said, first off, you just want to be a support to those guys. If you just talk about the bullpen role specifically, you just want, the game kind of takes care of itself as far as the adrenaline and the intensity when they leave that door and head out to the field. So it's your job just kind of like make sure they're calm and prepared and ready to go out there. And then otherwise, you can help them along the way. Like the next day is probably where I'm going to do most of my coaching, throughout the day, and kind of review the game from the night before and just kind of make sure that there's a plan put together each day for each guy.
Regardless of the personnel who happens to be in the bullpen on a day-to-day basis, do you have expectations of the group regardless of who's in there? Do you have kinds of things that you want them to learn throughout the process, day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month, that kind of thing?
Yeah, and if you look at the Brewers bullpen over the course of the last 4 or 5 years, you've had unsung heroes in a sense. Brent Suter came out of nowhere, and Eric Yardley, Devin Williams, who won the Rookie of the Year and Reliever of the Year in 2020. These guys, they weren't quite on your radar when season started. So we continue to try to come up with those guys. Jake Cousins last year was a guy for the Brewers. Our job, I guess, as coaches is we got to get these guys in here and try to squeeze as much talent out of them as possible in a short amount of time. So that's going to be the challenge again for this group.
And obviously it probably helps you because you've seen a lot of these guys over the course of the last 3, 4, 5 years, and being able to have that camaraderie and that knowledge of what makes them tick and when they're on and when they're off and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I've had a good opportunity. They invite the AAA staff to big league camps the last couple of years. I was able to work with them for that month and a half in big league camp, get to know them a little bit better, get to know the players and the coaches, and just kind of see how this all works together as a unit. And so it should be a smooth transition.
How challenging is the bullpen coaching role, given how, you don't necessarily expect starters to go 7 or 8 or 9 innings anymore? It's sort of, you go through the order a couple of times and then you're depending on those arms. How does that change your approach to coaching?
Yeah, we're a little busier out there, I think. I think with that sense, I think recovery is a huge part of this. With players relievers being used more often. And there's going to be that shuttle of a few guys up and down from AAA to refresh the bullpen. But a big part of this is just making sure we get through the season healthy. We take care of ourselves during the day, whether there's so many recovery tools now with the trainers and the stuff in the weight room. So, it's staying on top of those things, staying up to date and with these trends and making sure that we, get these guys rounded up and that we need to be ready every day. So recovery is going to be a big part.
On a personal level, as we talk about your coaching career to this point, the quick rise, is it taking you by surprise at all?
A little bit. I think I was probably mostly surprised when they asked me to go from like low A to AAA right away. I just kind of walked in the complex one day like, hey, you want to go to AAA? I said, yeah, sure. So, yeah, but I mean, at the same time, it helps that I had just come out of playing and at those higher levels, and I could, I knew what it looked like and felt like, and how it's supposed to operate. So it was comfortable to move up there, and then hopefully the same comfort going to the big leagues.
Mm-hmm. I know that this is a new role and you're just getting started, but at the same time, everybody's got those hopes and aspirations. Do you hope to expand upon this role? Do you hope to one day become a big league manager, for example, or have you thought about that, 5 or 10 year plan down the road?
Yeah, I think I'm taking it right now, day by day. But I guess early on in my coaching career, which is I know not too long, I didn't think about being a big league pitching coach. I think as I've kind of gained confidence in the role, I think I could see myself someday. Right now, I really respect and value Chris Hook, the big league pitching coach right now. I'm really excited to work with him. So I'm going to soak it in with him and see what I can learn. And then, someday.
What's been the most gratifying part for you over the last couple of years to get into this coaching realm and be able to maybe impart some wisdom on some of these young pitchers?
Yeah, so there's a difference from going from such a low level to the AAA level. I thought it was really, I enjoyed the low level. I talked to the group every day. Like we had a meeting every day. I talked to them basically just about a game situation the night before, what life is like as a pro ball player, whatever it was. And their eyes are wide open. They're soaking it in, and that was really enjoyable. And then you get to go to AAA and you get to sit in the office and watch somebody get called up for the first time and go back through those feelings. So that was really, satisfying and gratifying there. So, I mean, there's so many things that you can pull out of coaching that just makes you feel good day to day, when your guys do well and you can teach them about game or about life, whatever it is. Yeah, it's special.
Speaking of life and the game, let's go back to the very beginning here for those who may not know the past of Jim Henderson and how he got into baseball. I mean, you're from Calgary. You're in a city that is in province that's known more for hockey and football. How is it that you got into the game of baseball?
Yeah, my mom's her dad, my grandfather, he loved softball, or I think softball, fast pitch back then. So she had a passion for it and kind of got me into it at a young age. And it just kind of took off pretty quickly, honestly. And then being able to work through those little leagues of Cal West Little League and meet Johnny Arcandia and his boys. And there's a talented group in Cal West during my 9 years to 12-year-old days. So, obviously we joined forces and got together to create the dog. So, things did fall into place as far as a Calgary boy and a Canadian boy with baseball life, which very fortunate that it did.
Was there a moment or a time during that part of your journey where you realized that it was more than just a game? It was more than fun. You might actually have a future in this sport.
Probably not. I mean, a little bit when I made the junior national team, and colleges start calling and stuff like that. And, And then once colleges started calling most of those guys and the dogs, we were all kind of thinking about the next step. Pro ball, though, it really didn't come on my radar probably until you get to college, and you have scouts showing up, probably not to see you, probably to see your teammates, but they're around, and you're interested in maybe what the next step is. My goal at that time was just to outplay some of my dog's teammates, just stay in college as long as possible. I know that's not possible, but I was mad when some guys got redshirted and they were going to get that extra year of playing baseball, whether it was practice or games. I was bummed. So when I got drafted, it was a fun opportunity to keep on continuing my career in baseball.
You're known as one of the OGs for the Okotoks Dogs. You mentioned John Arcandia. Of course, that program became such a behemoth as the Okotoks Dogs because you were with Calgary originally. Any favorite memories from your time in helping create the blueprint for what it is now?
Yeah, I mean, we were a little bit of a grinders, right? We had no home. I think that was part of our identity, as far as just kind of finding a field around Calgary. Putting together a little bit of a practice with the fathers. We didn't have any expertise in a sense, and John might not like that, but and then John did bring in coaches and strength coaches and helped kind of grow it a bit. But I think that kind of made our identity. And then we were like the young group that went out to Okanagan. We always played up. We were 13, 14 years old playing 16, 17-year-olds and having a lot of success over there. So I think we kind of thrived on that as a group, and I thought that was the most exciting part. We had a chip on our shoulder each time we went and played a tournament back then, so it was a lot of fun.
Looking back on it and now seeing what that program is now, how crazy is that to see the progression and see what that whole facility is and what that whole program has become?
Yeah, it's really satisfying to know that, like, I don't know if we didn't have the success we did as a group and move on to colleges, that it'd be interesting to know where this path would have went for the dogs. But to continue to see now, I check their Instagram, I check their social media, and you see guys getting signed every day. It seems like to go to colleges, so they're keeping it going, which is awesome. It's giving a lot of kids opportunities that probably wouldn't have them in that area of Canada. So. Pretty exciting to see it grow and continue to push these guys onto their secondary education.
The first time you and I chatted was actually for the Core 4+14 video series that we did with the dogs, and you were immortalized as one of the OGs there. What did it mean to you to get recognized in that way? And maybe as a bigger picture question, what does it mean to still have that connection with the program?
Yeah, it's pretty special. They've honored me in the Hall of Fame and all this stuff, and it means a lot. I always say that I owe them. They don't owe me or anything. I mean, I owe them for all these opportunities. Just kind of like I've mentioned, that you just don't get as a Canadian around there. So it means a lot. It's nice that I could make it as far as I did, and these players that come by can look at the name or know me if I come into town and know that it's possible that I was standing in their shoes at some point, that they could make it this far. So they have the tools, they have the facilities, they have everything they need, and then now they just got to get it done.
Now you go to college. You mentioned you get drafted by the Montreal Expos, 26th round back in 2003. Take us back to that day when you find out you're picked, and not just picked, but you're a Canadian kid getting picked by one of at the time, 2 Canadian teams.
Yeah, it's one of those days that it's later. It's kind of mid to late rounds there, so you're kind of waiting by your phone for a while, and then it calls, and then it was the Expos, which I didn't expect at all. I had most communication with the Braves at that point, so it was really exciting. I mean, here's the Expos and the Canadian team. You're like, whoa, this means something now.
Mm-hmm.
It's they come out of nowhere and they take you and you get thrown into Gulf Coast League, and I mean, at that point they had such a strong history of Pedro Martinez and Randy Johnson. I think we even they even had their pants and their old uniforms around that they just threw on our rookies. They're hand-me-downs, and we just took them and wore them, and we were like, this is really neat that we're actually kind of wearing the same clothes and uniforms that these Canadian greats wore.
When you think back on it, 10 years in the minors, and then you get called up by the team that you're now coaching with, do you remember that first appearance on a big league bump?
Oh yeah, like it was yesterday. Yeah. Yeah, it's a special day. I just remember the feeling of, yeah, it's a brand new feeling. I remember the lights were bright. I remember that I couldn't get any saliva, and I kind of just didn't really feel my body out there. I was hoping that all my muscle memory and all the pitches I've made in those 10 years would take over at that point, and it worked out.
Very cool. All in all, a 15-year career. I think it was 155 big league games all in all. Any favorite memories or accomplishments that you had along the road?
I actually think my when I made the Mets open day roster and then took the mound again, that was like the same kind of feeling as making your debut. I thought that was a pretty good memory for me. I had the second shoulder surgery. I worked hard to get through it. The Brewers had let me go, which is understandable. I lost my velocity, and I worked really hard that off season and into spring training with the Mets, and to get back on that mound was pretty special for me. And I remember that day almost the same as my debut, or maybe even more.
You also mentioned junior national team, but I know you've represented Canada on the international stage a bunch of different times. What did those opportunities mean to you, especially being able to, I'll use the hockey term, but wear the maple leaf across the chest?
Yeah, pretty great. Pretty great. We won bronze in Italy in the World Cup in what do I say, '09 maybe. You'll have to check that for me. And then the gold in Mexico in '11, which I think those are some of these first medals that they'd won in a while. So and to win the gold was pretty special. And anytime that group got together, it was a family, and that's I think that Italy trip really was really memorable. They wanted to advertise the game across the country, so we took like a 2-hour. They had stayed in a central location, and we take a 2-hour bus trip one way and then come back after the game. And we spent a lot of time on the bus together, drinking wine and eating good food after games, and just kind of bonding and kind of feeling that sense of family that the Canadian ball players have. Because we all have that sense because we're underdogs. Canada's underdogs in baseball, so we kind of feel like we got something to prove when we're together.
Absolutely. You mentioned family, and you also mentioned your mom a little bit earlier on, and I was lucky enough to meet her randomly at a baseball history walk in Calgary a few years back. And the thing that stuck out to me in meeting her was just how much of, she's obviously president of your fan club, but beyond that is she's just your biggest booster as well, and really talked you up as we were having this great conversation. And I wanted to ask about her and what she's meant to you as you've gone along every step of your path in this baseball journey.
Yeah, I mean, another reason why I'm here in the baseball life. She, like I said, she had a passion for baseball with her dad playing. She'd be the one that got off work and drove me around, and she was a single mom for a bit there, and so she gets off work, drive. I think she was we were in South Calgary. She was up north Calgary. She'd take Deerfoot down, pick me up. We'd get to the Little League game or practice, and she'd make it happen for me. And then again, she would come around to some dogs trips if she could, and she'd drive herself sometimes at the Okanagan or whatever it may be. And she really was the number one fan. Brought her cowbell out, and just and big supporter out there in the stands, and always there when I need her when it comes to baseball.
Mm-hmm. And the story of your dad and his battle with ALS is fairly well known. As you've gone about your journey in baseball, how has he influenced you?
Yeah, it's one of those things as a young kid that you could struggle with, or you could overcome. I always thought it had kind of happened past when the dogs started kicking off there. So actually gave me an opportunity to just kind of take baseball as an outlet. And I got to just go to the field and kind of get away from it, clear your head a little bit. So, baseball has given me an opportunity to get over that, I think, a bit. And then when I made it to the big leagues and as a player in Milwaukee, I worked with the ALS Association in Milwaukee. So, hoping maybe to get back into that once I get up there as a coach now.
Very cool. A couple more questions for you before we let you go here. You've seen it all from the grind of the minors to the big leagues. And what kind of advice or wisdom would you offer to that 13 or 14-year-old kid here in Alberta who might have the same dreams that you once had?
Yeah, it's I would say to stay athletic. If we want to get down to like a coaching, take a coaching route here is stay athletic. Don't just play baseball. I know things are being more specialized with kids these days and playing hockey year round and baseball year round. I think we were so good because we did everything. We Dogs players, we would play basketball after a game, after a practice, we'd go play basketball for a couple hours and played hockey in some of the off seasons. I think that the more that you can stay athletic and move around and tell your body to do different things, I think the better off you'll be, in whatever sport you choose.
Final question for you here, Jim, and it's one we ask everyone. What does the game of baseball mean to you?
That's a tough one. It was a passion early on. It turns into a job, but it's still a game, right? It's a game that you get to go to every day and you see something new, And there's always unexpected things. There's a grind to it. Baseball is a game that you play every day, and you have to be able to pick yourself up and love it, to play it every day. But there's also stuff that you might be able to, learn from each day you play it. There's a lot of failures in it, right? A lot of failures, especially on the hitting side, but pitching side is the same way. If you're expected to get the job done because it's so hard on hitters that those failures might be even tougher to handle. So it picks you up and humbles you sometimes and lets you know that you got to work hard for everything you want in the game.
Fantastic stuff. Well, again, Jim, congratulations on the new role with the Brewers. Congratulations on all the success you've had to this point, continued success going forward. And thanks so much for joining us here on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks again to Jim Henderson for joining us this week, and thanks to all of you for downloading and listening. If you haven't already, do us a huge favor and leave us a rating and review on your app of choice. Those actions help with our visibility on the apps, and in our books, the more listeners, the merrier. Before we go, we'd like to once again thank our Platinum supporters. The Okotoks Dogs just announced tickets for the upcoming 2022 WCBL season go on sale April 1st. For all the details, go to dogsbaseball.ca. And AHP Academy is the brainchild of Taylor Burns at Absolute Human Performance. That program continues to build strength in the Edmonton region. For more on them, head to ahpbaseball.com. Until next time, thanks for all of your support, no matter the platform, be it social media, our website, or here on Alberta Dugout Stories, the podcast.